Hi, Matthias. Good morning. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, hey. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? Thank you for
All
joining.
fine, thank you. Sure, looking forward.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are very welcome to today's session of Career Essentials, the Future of Work. I request that we give it maybe 3 to 4 minutes just to allow other people to join, and then we shall kick off. If you know someone, a friend or a colleague that registered and they would like to be part of this, please let them know that the session is about to start so that they can join us. Also, if you know anyone who this might be beneficial to, kindly do well to let them know as well so that they can join us. We'll be starting off in a few minutes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes. We're still waiting for more people to join. Thank you, Geoffrey and Matthias, for joining us. We'll be starting in a few minutes. All right. So good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. My name is Natasha Katanduchi, and I am honored to be your moderator for today. Welcome to this week's session of the Future of Work Career Essentials series that is organized by Bakash Media Foundation in collaboration with the Innovation Village. Today we're going to be exploring the career opportunities within the technology startup ecosystem. And we are honored to have our trainers on the call this morning, Matthias and, sorry, just give me a minute, Matthias and Geoffrey, who are going to be taking us through what it is like in the startup ecosystem, and what opportunities are there. So this series happen every week. They will be going on for 3 months. And we have a session every week on Thursday at 11 a.m. Discussing various topics to do with the future of work. So do well to join us. We also have a WhatsApp community. Isaac will help us share the link for that on the chat later, so that those who are interested can be able to join us. Okay, so we're going to get into it. I see all our trainers are already on the call, and I would not like to waste any more time. So we have Matthias Mobius, who is an ecosystem player. And what he's doing is accelerating African startups through Startup Africa. He will also tell us more about what they're doing there. And then we'll take a deep dive into what career opportunities are there. We also have Geoffrey Mutabazi, who is a tech startup founder. He's running a startup called Kara. And I believe we could not have a better duo, really, to give us insight on what is happening in the technology startup scene and what career opportunities are there for the young people that are launching into the workforce and, starting out their careers. So I would like to invite Geoffrey to go first and tell us about yourself, about Kara, and talk to the young people here about the career opportunities in that space. Over to you, Geoffrey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Natasha, for giving me this opportunity to, and thank you for the opportunity from Bakash Media to share some of my lessons and some of my knowledge from building and running a startup. So my name is Geoffrey. I run a startup called Kara. What we do is we electrify, or we add Kara / electricity to bicycles. That typically means you add motor and a battery to your typical bicycle, and you're able to, if you are a food delivery worker, you're able to do higher revenue or a larger number of orders. So essentially, we are a future of work startup. So we are providing career opportunities or earning opportunities for delivery riders or operators in the gig economy, as in small businesses that need last mile delivery, to basically be more efficient, more sustainable, more productive, and more profitable. I mean, I think the first and most important thing, I mean, a lot of what is usually discussed in some of the rooms is, future of work being blue collar job, being, all the fancy office jobs. But I think there are a lot of career opportunities or work opportunities even out. Apologies, I'm under the weather, so excuse me. So typically what I've seen with, for example, Kara, is that we have, through creating an asset like an electric bicycle, we've been able to create an asset class that enables food delivery riders, for example, or small businesses that need last mile delivery, to have a rider that's riding a normal bicycle that performs almost as much as a motorcycle, and typically costs almost the same as a bicycle to maintain and run and all that. And you can also charge it from home. So by creating this, we're typically disrupting how businesses and individuals interact with work opportunities in the logistics and last mile delivery space. So for a young person getting into the workplace, I think one of the most important things is looking at where the world is going and going there fast. I think a lot of you have seen how fast technology is changing the workplace and creating new opportunities, and also extinguishing some opportunities that were previously very profitable or very available. So while starting out in the career, in your career, you need to look at where the world is going and go there instead of going where the world is currently. So it could literally mean that if you're starting out as a professional looking to operate in the logistics space, you're basically not going to be thinking about the normal logistics with traditional vehicles. You're going to look at electric mobility because that's a fast-growing field. If you're a professional looking to get into digital marketing, you definitely have to think about, instead of thinking about the traditional opportunities, you have to think about opportunities like that leverage, for example, artificial intelligence that can enable you be a digital marketer or online marketing or online media go while utilizing AI. So really thinking forward and not just looking at the opportunities that currently exist, because in many cases, if something already exists and has been exploited for a while, then it's very likely that you're not going to make any big difference or make a very large impact in that field. But if you get into something new as a young person, you have an opportunity to grow with it. And then lastly, I think as an employer, I would say if anyone is looking into employment, I typically take a quality over quantity stance. Why? Because I think the day and age of having a company with 100 employees doing big tasks is gone. I think the world is moving more towards quality, right? Can you have one person using a lot of smart tools, um, using AI, with a lot of industry knowledge, getting into your organization and doing the work of 10 people with, with tools and with a lot of knowledge at their disposal, they are definitely able to do that. So with a lot of tools, with a lot of knowledge currently, which you can get just at your fingertips, you do have an opportunity to become a higher value employee than just a random, person with the same skills that everyone else has. So be more competitive. I think it's very important to focus more on value. And then lastly, just for anyone getting into a career space, well, Barnaba also said last twice. I don't know if you get that joke. But essentially, if you're in your career, in your early days, you typically need to think more about value. So if you think about money first, it does create a challenge for you to learn as much and to also grow as fast. So in my early career, I think most of the skills that I have right now, I got from my first employer. I wasn't earning much, but I was learning a lot. So in those 4 years being employed, I learned so much, and I was actually learning under someone who had also a lot of experience, and that enabled me to basically start my business on the right footing because I had the right skills, I had the right knowledge, and that made my employee, I would say, my self-employment journey easier by working for the right employer. So in many cases, always shoot for in your early career, working for the best person you could ever work for. And that will typically skyrocket your learning journey. You'll have so many valuable skills. It doesn't matter if you work for them for free or for a very small salary in the early stages, but you're investing in yourself. And most of the things that you're learning, you're typically going to use them in the future in your career to actually make money. So make yourself as valuable by working for a very valuable, very knowledgeable organization person at the start, and then the rest of your career will literally be so easy. So that's about using employment as a path to self-employment, and also uh, making yourself the most high value person in the organization, which really helps you grow faster in the organization, also deliver a lot more value to the organization.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. That was very insightful. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end after the second trainer has spoken. So I would urge everyone, our dear participants, if you have any questions, please take note of them. We're going to bring them up all at once after the second speaker. So kindly take note of your questions and we'll do that. At this juncture, I would like to invite you, Matthias, to give your take on career opportunities available in the startup ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Big pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. And I would love to share about 4 parts, more or less. Maybe shortly about Startup. Before that, we are an entrepreneurship hub. We are around 30 people in our team. We work in Uganda, Tanzania, and soon in Kenya as well. especially on entrepreneurship programs. We work with 10 universities in Uganda as well. So at the very early stage, and supporting students and graduates to start businesses. And we also especially work in the tech and in the manufacturing sector. In tech, we do a little bit of investment and super long-term venture support. We work very hands-on with entrepreneurs for 2 years or even more, and help them with anything from sales to hiring, legal, raising money, etc. We have a pretty good idea of what's going on for a few years already in the ecosystem. So the first bit that I want to jump on is generally on how the ecosystem looks like if you're looking for jobs in tech, especially in tech startups, and a bit more about these tech jobs. So the first thing you need to know, of course, is that the ecosystem is actually pretty small. It's not like there's tons of tech businesses out there. And that's important to know, especially if you want to make a career in tech. If you're looking for jobs, I think you can, in your mind, separate in two different types of businesses there. Some that have raised money already from investors or larger grants, and then some that are still bootstrapping or in the earlier stages. Of course, there's more, but I think this is a useful way to look at it if you're looking for jobs. And the reason is, of course, once someone has raised some money, they also have some money to spend on salaries. And the biggest amount of investment in tech companies usually goes into salaries by far. So it means ramping up the team to grow faster. And startups are all about growth, nothing else. So it's all about the product and the sales parts, especially. So if you are approaching companies that are still bootstrapping or don't want to raise or just don't have the same resources, you will just probably approach them differently because they might not have official jobs there, but they might be open. And I think Geoffrey hinted at it to someone who really wants to give their all to bring the company forward. And it's still an opportunity to get in, especially if you select one where you see super high potential, you help them also get to the next level, and then you're in, right? So this can be a great way to basically also get a job. So a few things, and I think Geoffrey hinted a lot about on a lot of things that I see exactly the same way on how you actually get these jobs. So the most important thing, and he mentioned this, is that you need to offer value. There's this saying that a startup is only as good as its co-founders and first hires. So every individual in a startup, in a very small team, needs to be super high performing. So this is not a government-like job. And this needs to be clear to you. If you want to get into the tech space, there's a lot of benefits, but don't think of it like a 9-to-5 job that's comfortable and where you can just chill and relax and now you're in, because that's just not how startups work. Startups require you to be insanely productive and just get the job done that they need to get done and put in all your initiative and knowledge and so on. This is super, super, super important. So whenever you engage with founders or people from startup teams where you're interested in joining, just show them how you can offer value. Just don't hold back in offering value, because that's how startups will see what you can do for them. And of course, then you will see if they value what you can give them. So I think that's something that you really need to keep in mind if you want to get into the tech startup space and find a job there. Then what do they need mostly? I think I hinted at it. The most important things for tech startups is product and sales. So improve the product and get it out there into customer hands. Startups cannot afford to have all these overheads that larger companies have. And especially when you're still figuring out the model, which is still the case for most, you should be productive to help them make more money or improve the product. That's key. So this also has requirements on your hard skills. Of course, there's exceptions, etc. But largely, startups focus and should focus on these two areas: better product and better sales. And then it depends on how they make money, if it's completely inbound marketing or outbound, or if they even do direct sales, but just be prepared to help in these two areas and add value there. I think another thing that shouldn't be underestimated is tech startups, especially in the early stage, they're very different than a job in a bank or so, right? In a startup, you don't have all these established structures, etc. So I think it will help you a lot if you get to understand how startups actually work. So go to ecosystem events, read books, scavenge YouTube for all the good content on startups, etc. Become a startup expert yourself, because startups are so special in the way they operate. You should understand how that works, and that will give you a big competitive advantage also in getting into the job. If a startup founder sees someone who applies to it as if it's a government job, it's already a red flag. You will not get in. If you're entrepreneurial, techie, and understand what's going on and how the system works, this will help a lot because also founders are busy, right? So they don't have so much time to explain all of these things. And I think finally, how do you actually get in? I think founder events are a great way. There's, for example, the Founder Lounge, which is a big community. You can always post either in the WhatsApp group where there's 700 people, a lot of the founders. They have monthly events. Like go there, interact, meet people, ask people what are startups that you know that are doing well, that are the hot teams right now, and then try to just approach the founders and just share with them what you can do for them. Try to understand where they're standing and try to offer value. I think that's the best way to get in, especially before they have raised. Once they have raised, and you can keep updated once again in WhatsApp groups. Sometimes there's fundraising announcements. Many startups don't do them, but you can get to know who is raising money, and of course, then they also have some money to hire people, and they need good people. So these are, I think, the ways how you can be a bit strategic about getting in. And once again, be prepared to offer as much value as you can, and also to identify and be specific about which startup you think actually is good and has a lot of potential, because otherwise you could also be wasting a lot of your time if you're working with founders or a team that is working on something that doesn't make sense. So you also need to be careful, especially if you take the approach that Geoffrey said, be ready to volunteer, even if the money is not so good, etc. I think this is fine, but only if you're actually working for a startup that is on a really good trajectory. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time as well, right? So the last 2 points that I have is one on the benefits. Why is it maybe good to work with a startup? And the second one on what you should also maybe consider and be mindful and aware of. So I start with the benefits. I think number one, Geoffrey hinted at the learning part. As much as you need to learn a lot, I think it's an opportunity to just have the steepest learning curve that you can possibly have anywhere, especially if you go all in and really treat it as if it's your business. That's what you have to do as an early employee in a startup. If you do that, and it's a good startup, you will learn more than in any other place. And this will be super valuable for your personal growth, for your career, and your future earning opportunities as well. Then the next one is that you can grow your profile in a fast-growing business, because what I've seen a lot of times, even people who now work in our team, they joined certain startups. For example, SafeFoda. We have a few people who work with SafeFoda in the very early days already. And if the startup is small, and as they grow and keep hiring, the people who are already there are way more likely to be promoted and to get into positions of with higher responsibility, which means more learning. But you will also be holding much more advanced positions that you would never get in the job market as a more junior employee. So if you really add value and you're there from the very early days, you have a very good chance to ride the wave as the startup grows. And I think this is something that can catapult you into positions of more responsibility faster than in any other space, which is super useful, I think. The other thing is that you have an upside. If you start as a junior accountant in some established firm, your salary increase and career path is kind of dictated. In a startup, you can grow much faster, and you have this upside. You have a possibility to get stock options if you're early and adding a lot of value. There will be more likely to be more significant salary increases when the startup does well or raises money. So there is an upside that you definitely have. Once again, if you're in a startup that is doing well and growing well. And the other thing that's also not to underestimate is that startups are usually at the forefront of what's happening. So even if you change jobs after that, you probably have learned a lot of what's going on in the space and what's the most important and hottest thing. So even if you change into another sector, they can benefit from your expertise of knowing how the future is likely looking like for similar companies, etc. So this is definitely helpful for you. So I think there's a lot of good arguments, and especially early in your career, I think it's amazing if you get in, and amazing if you have the ability to add value to these companies, and you can make a lot out of it. Now, lastly, I want to close with the points to maybe be mindful of, and I especially have two. One I mentioned, I just want to emphasize: choose a good business. If you're choosing a startup that is working on something that doesn't make sense and it's just trying to figure their things out, it can just drag you along as well. So also be selective as much as the startups are selective. And really, I want to reemphasize the second point. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a relaxed government kind of job. You should really want that, and you should be ready to give your all in. Probably the founders of the business are working Monday to Sunday, etc. And sometimes stuff just needs to get done. The team is small. If you really want to make progress, this is not the place and time to say, oh, I want to enjoy my sweet life now. So be prepared for that. And if you have an inclination towards that, don't start in a tech startup. It will not work out. I think these are a few of the points, and happy to answer any questions as well. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Matthias. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, as well, for sharing your very well-informed insights with us today. We've learned a lot, definitely. I think my highlight being the difference between how things work in startups and how things work in traditional established organizations. So I think that's a point for us to note. So now we move into the question and answer session. So if you have any questions for either Matthias or Jeffrey, you raise your hand, we shall send you a request to unmute, and then you can ask your question. Feel free to either direct it to any of the trainers, or if it's an open question to any of them, you can also let us know, and they'll be more than happy to address your concerns. So please let us know if you have a question. For those who have just joined us, you're most welcome. This session is recorded, so do well to share it with you after it has ended. I'm also going to ask Isaac, please kindly share the link for the WhatsApp community so that people can join and get to know what's happening with the Career Essentials program, the future of work, what's happening next week, and all the information they need to know about this initiative. Any questions? Isaac,
Well,
Ivan.
if there are no questions, then it seems people are shy to even ask for jobs.
I see Ivan has a question. Ivan Agaba Revandira, please unmute your mic and speak.
Yes, thank you very much, Natasha. Can I be heard loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
That's wonderful. Now, I think I have two questions, and I think I will be direct to specify them for Matthias. Matthias, I think you will be better fit to answer these questions. Now, number one is, you see the startup terrain or landscape. I think like he earlier shared on was, you'll either reach a point when you must choose to either bootstrap or to source venture capital. So my question to him is, what criteria do you follow to choose which of the two to take on? Either go on with the bootstrapping or to source venture capital. That's number one. Number two is a question regarding vanity vis-a-vis actual support for startups. Because I've had colleagues, and I'm sure very many people on the call can bail me out, that you'll have colleagues with very good ideas. They usually go for competitions, and usually they even emerge victors in these competitions. They win all these accolades, but when it comes to actual sourcing for support for their startups, they seem not to get any. So it's so ironical that an idea that won a context does not get to win funding. So I would like him to address himself to that irony. How do you win a contest and fail to get funding? We have those startups also. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. I think they're not so much related to the work topics. So I'll try to keep it short, but they are very good points. The first one on choosing to bootstrap or to raise, I think there's several things. The most important one is what kind of business do you want to build? You need to know if you're getting into venture capital, there's a clear exit expectation. A VC will never make money if you don't have an exit. So it requires that, firstly, the founder actually want to exit their company eventually. Otherwise, you should never go for VC. If you want to build your business to own it and run it, don't go for venture capital. That's number one. And then you also need to have the ability to possibly have an exit, because it's not like grants, etc. Like VCs are highly selective and they're only looking for super high growth opportunities that can deliver 10x return for them. And otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them just because of how VC is set up. And people complain about it, which in my opinion doesn't make sense, because that's just the niche use case of venture capital and where it makes sense. So I think it's about the willingness and the ability. This is how you would choose it. And the ability depends on the founders. It depends on the market. It depends on especially those two things. Do the founders have the ability to actually pull something crazy good off? Are they really outliers as founders? And then as well, is it a great market where you actually can build a super large and super fast growing business with a pressing customer need? So I think that's how someone should choose for these things. And the biggest issue that I see in the ecosystem is that there's a lot of confusion. I always ask founders, are you building to own or to exit? Like 90% say they're building to own. They want to own a company, but at the same time, they are still looking for venture capital, which doesn't make sense already. So they're chasing something where the system logic just doesn't work. And then vanity versus actual support. So maybe one comment on competitions. There is a place for competitions, but it's very small in my opinion. You don't evaluate a good startup by winning a competition. It's just complete vanity. You mentioned the name, the word vanity. Competitions, you need to always acknowledge, right? There was an application process. There was a certain offering that was made for people to apply. And maybe the best businesses don't even apply, right? That's one thing. And then secondly, building a successful business is not about winning competitions. It just doesn't matter at all. If it gives you some money that helps you on the journey, well and good. But it's like, I don't care about it at all. It's not a metric that matters. The only metrics that matter are growth, retention. That's it. If you focus on much else as a startup or as a founder, then you're anyways off track, I think. Just look at your internal metrics and build a good business and build a product that people love to use. That's what you should focus on and nothing else. So I think that's the first biggest confusion. So even if you win a competition, of course you might not get funding, because no one cares if you win a competition. I'll invest if it's a good business, not if you won a competition. So if the business is not good or the founders don't have their shit together, so to speak, then yeah, why would anyone invest still? In terms of high quality support, I think I agree with you. It's not super easy, and there's not many places that are set up to do the support, which has a number of systemic reasons. On the one hand, how the funding for startup support works. I think there's too much emphasis and focus on quantity over quality. I mean, if you just look into the Ugandan startup ecosystem, after mentioning 10 to 20 startups, you will struggle to mention really good startups that have found a bit of success and raised some money, for example, right? Which just shows that the numbers that we're working with in this ecosystem are pretty low. So ideally, you rather give a lot of support to those few that really have the potential for high growth, which is what startups are about, instead of looking for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, which is happening still too much. So source of funding is just one of the reasons, but there's many other reasons. And I think it's also not easy to do this good support, and there's not many people that even we could, for example, hire to do high quality startup support, because you basically need someone who really has deep expertise in that space. They're there, and we try to hire them. But I think, and we are we're strategically positioning ourselves to be able to afford them, but also to get them in, as we just work one-on-one with our portfolio. We're also excited to do that, but I think it's just not happening enough, because the matter of fact is that trainings rarely help. And the reason, and this is my last point, if you just think about it, if you put even just 5 startups, if you put Geoffrey in the room with 4 other tech startups, they all have completely different needs. I mean, I've worked a bit with Geoffrey. I know what he's working on. These are very concrete and specific things that he needs support with. So if I put him in a training room with 4 others even, and most trainings rather have 20 than 5 people or startups, they all have such different needs. Like, what value are you going to be offering to Geoffrey? For a startup, how you should think of support is you need to answer the question, what is, let's say, Geoffrey or Kara's biggest need today, and how can you help them make progress towards that biggest need next week? Because their job is to make relevant progress towards growth and a better product every single week. And this is what you need to support them with. And this is individual one-on-one work. So we mostly, over a long period of time, do one-on-one work. Yep, these are my few cents on this. And hope this was helpful.
Thank you so much, Matthias. I hope your question was answered, Ivan. Okay, I see he has a thumbs up. So, all right. Any other questions? Any other questions? You guys are ready for work in the startup ecosystem. If you don't have any questions, that means that everything was crystal clear and that you're now ready to get into that space. Okay, I think Ivan has another question. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Before I forget, maybe I could drink from Matthias's chalice of knowledge. I don't know. I'm currently reading a book called Startup Nation, and it really talks about Israel and how Israel has really dominated over the startup economy or infrastructure world over. I don't know what does he think makes Israel tick? Israel tick? What's it about Israel that makes it so tick?
Well, I'm not an expert on Israel, and I think, but even if you look at other startup ecosystems, there's a few things that need to come together. So breakthrough innovation, which is what startups are about, comes from deep expertise and knowledge in certain technologies, but also about certain markets. Because to find these forefront new possibilities and ideas, require people and enough people, because finally it's a probability, right? If you just have one person in the country who can build with a certain technology, the likelihood that they will stumble upon one amazing opportunity that there is with this technology is just low. If you have 100,000, then it's much higher. So that's one thing, right? Like very good hard skills and tech education, which in my opinion is still a big challenge, because even if you go to IT faculties at universities, very often the instructors have no clue of what the latest technologies are, right? The students are better in tech than their instructors often. And that's a big issue. I'm not saying everywhere, but it is definitely a theme. So I think this, in my opinion, is the first thing that needs to be fixed on a national and more systemic level. Much better ways how tech education works, and in a very practical project-based learning kind of sense, because you need people who experiment with technologies, who build stuff, random stuff, so they gain that experience and then can start other random things. And you need masses of people there on the one hand to get stuff started, but then also to have people who those startups can hire. So I think this is one thing that's super huge. And for me, it's the biggest necessary thing, because a lot of the other things will come. If you have amazing founders, then you can support them. Of course, the ecosystem still needs to do a better job. There's little access to investment. But on the other hand, if you're really a good founder with a great business, you will find investment. I'm very sure about it. The issue is often rather on the business side. So I think for me, that's it. But it's really an ecosystem approach. And what Israel specifically has done, I don't know, but I know they have a lot of good universities with really good tech education. So if they are at the forefront there, for example, especially in the security space, be it cybersecurity or even aeronautics and so on. So you need that to get companies out started by these super tech cracks.
Okay, thank you so much, Matthew. Anyone else has any questions? You can also use the chat in case you're feeling shy this morning. Please feel free to use the chat and leave your question there. I'll be kind enough to pass it on to our trainer so that they can address it. Okay, in the meantime, as we wait for those who might have questions, I'd like to invite Isaac from the Bakash Media Foundation to tell us what this Future of Work series is about and how people can take part of it for the remaining time that it will be run. Isaac?
Hi, Natasha. Can you be able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good morning to all. Thank you so much for making it our 6th, if I'm not wrong, Future of Work series. These are weekly series where we engage change makers, industry experts to our audience. And this is a comprehensive program that we are doing with the Innovation Village and supported by the MasterCard Foundation. I'd like to thank our trainers today. Geoffrey Mtabazi is our friend, is our colleague from Kara Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to thank Matthias. I've been looking for Matthias for the last 1 month. And I'm glad finally you made time. I know you have a very tight schedule, but thank you so much for making time. I've met Matthias once at a conference, but I like the fact that we bonded and like the work they're doing at Startup Africa. And I'm glad you're joining us this morning to share your knowledge and your insights about how to navigate the startup world. This program is running up to August. We're going to start our physical sessions starting with June. We're going to go to 3 universities, that's Makerere University, Victoria, and MOOCs. So we invite you all, those who have not joined today, all these series are recorded and you can find them on YouTube and all our platforms. So we're going to have the physical sessions that are going to be starting in June. And I'm going to, of course, we're going to call again you, Matthias, and of course, Geoffrey, because you're the big stakeholders in this space, in the startup space. So you're going to invite you again, and you will have to come and share with their audience physically and network and get to know really what they do so that we can really help them bring their ideas to life. And I know this is one of the work that Startup Africa is doing, nurturing and really bringing these dreams to life for young professionals. So I don't have much to say, but thank you so much for joining us again this morning. And would like to really let you know that I think we're going to have the next virtual session next week. Then from then, we're going to have the physicals that are going to commence. Thank you so much, Natasha, for hosting us this morning. And yes, have a good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you very much once again, our dear trainers, Geoffrey and Matthias. Matthias had mentioned that he needs to drop in the next 5 minutes, so that's okay. Thank you for all the insights you've shared with us. The rest, I would request you to kindly stay behind for a few more minutes. We need your feedback on how this session has been, and also what you would like to see in the upcoming session, such that we can be able to curate content that is relevant for your needs as people that are stepping out into the workforce. So right now, if you look at your screen, I've popped up a poll that has just 4 questions for you to give us your feedback, so that will not take so much time. Kindly give us your feedback. You can just select your option on your screen and we'll be able to receive the information. After that, we're going to take a very quick virtual photo. So I'm going to request that your camera is off. You kindly turn it on if you're able to, and I'll let you know once we're getting into the photo moment. The poll is on your screen now, so you can just give us your feedback, please. As you fill that in, kindly don't drop, please. We need to take a virtual photo. Kindly turn your camera on if you're able to, so that we can take a quick virtual photo. Thank you. It's lovely to see your faces. Let's see, more are still coming on. More are still coming on. Nice to see all of you. Thank you for joining us today. We also look forward to seeing you next week. Just one more person who has not responded to the poll, and then we shall close it and take our photo. In the meantime, we're giving a few seconds to those who have not yet turned on their cameras to do so, so that our picture can look nice. Okay. I'll go ahead and end the poll now. Just a second, please smile. All right, got it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, our dear trainers. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're going to have another virtual session, and then the week after that, we'll have a physical session, and Bakash Media Foundation will do well to share all the details with us. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and have a lovely week.